Okay, and welcome back again with Mr. Majola. We are still continuing our video. This is now section or question 6b, which is basically a continuation of the previous video that you've just watched. Now let's look at the instructions again. They want you to retrieve question 6a, which is the question that you've just done now, and then you change the question number in the header to question 6b. So it's only a matter of backspacing and removing an a, replacing it with a b. Okay, and then you make all the other changes as indicated below and on the spreadsheet on the following page. So you're going to apply these changes that are appearing here and the ones that are appearing here as well. They want us to insert new column and rows as indicated in the spreadsheet on the next page. So they want us to insert this column here, and they want us to insert these rows here. There's basically, there might be another row. Oh, they want us to insert another row here as well. Okay, so it's this row, these rows, and this column that will be inserting. So let's get to it now. Okay. So now in column H, as indicated, column H should now be number of days, column H. So I'm going to place my cursor there, right click on my mouse, and I'm going to say insert. Now column H is vacant, and I'm going to type number of days. Okay, and then the instruction continues to say I should insert a row in row 12. So I'm going to place my cursor in row 12, right click, and then I click insert. There we go. And then the instruction continues to say from row 22 to row 25 I should insert this data here. So 22 would be total amount due, and then 23 would be highest number of days, 24 lowest price per person, 25 average of percentage of total. And again, I can see that on this question paper this belongs to row A, so I should also open up my row A accordingly. Okay, that's too much now. Okay, and they want us to have this here is Comic Sans 16 point bold. So I'm going to select this, and I'm going to look for the font Comic Sans. My fonts are alphabetically arranged, so they'll go from A to Z, and then it needs to be size 16, and then it needs to be made bold. Okay, and then this instruction says merge and center rows 1 to 5 across columns A to J. So I'm going to highlight from A to J, and then I'm going to say merge and center. The same applies for this one. You do not highlight everything because it is going to be messy, so you basically highlight each individually. What am I doing now? Merge and center, cancel, that's not what I want. Merge and center, A to J. What am I doing? A up to J, merge and center. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes as long as you'll be able to correct them and still afford yourself a good mark. And I think I've done all of them. Now, in A, they say, instruction number 4, they say insert formula where letters of the alphabet appear to do the following. Use formula to insert today's date in A, and they want it to be here. So I'm going to insert a formula. So in a formula to insert today's date is equal sign today, open bracket, close bracket. So your brackets are empty. It's equal sign today, open bracket, close bracket, and then you press enter. And then today is the 29th of March 2023. 29th of March 2023. So that is how you insert today's date. So this is the shortest formula that we have to insert today's date. I do know that some of you might be familiar with the date for formula, but to equals today, open brackets, close brackets is the easiest one. Okay. So now the instruction continues to say, B, they want us to calculate the number of days with the formula you are familiar with. So they're not specific as to which formula we should use. They want us to use whichever formula that we are familiar with. Okay, so they want us to calculate the number of days, and there are two ways to doing this. There's a shorter way, there's a longer way. The shorter way is equal sign. You take the last date, which is the date out, minus the date in, 3 days. So from the 10th to the 13th, that would give us 3. Just how like you calculate your age, it's today's date minus your date of birth. So it's the latest date minus the earliest date. Alternatively, there is a formula for the benefit of those who wish to use a formula. It equals days, open bracket, you select the end day, you separate, and then you select the start day, you enter your bracket, you close. It still gives me 3. So it's entirely up to you which one you want to use. Okay, it's entirely up to you. And then you autofill. So that one is done. What else are we looking for? The amount due. Obviously the amount due is going to be, they didn't tell us how we should calculate the amount due, but you should use your own logic in this one. Okay, it is going to be the number of persons multiplied by the price per person per day by the number of days that they stayed. It's just like your accounting knowledge, your financial maths knowledge. It's the number of persons. You do not take the capacity, because the capacity is how much or how many people can you take in, but only calculates based on how many people were actually there. In this one, they can take in 8, but only 6 arrived. So they cannot be paying for 2 people who didn't arrive just to make the 8. So you're going to be using the number of persons, not the capacity. Capacity is just to say how many can we accommodate, but the number of persons is the number of people who were actually there and that they need to be invoiced or charged for their stay. Okay, so that will be equal sign. Remember, in Excel you always start with equal sign if you're going to be typing in the formula. So it's going to be equal sign. I usually prefer opening brackets, but I believe that even if without a bracket you'll still get the same answer. So it's going to be the number of persons multiplied by the price per person times the days in which they stayed, which would give me an amount of 1,200. Okay, and then going on to the next one, they want us to calculate the total amount in D. Okay, so now they want us to calculate E, which is percentage of total, and E would be here. This is our E in column J. So they want us to calculate the percentage of total. So it's going to be equal sign this one divided by the total, and then you're going to insert or apply absolute cell referencing to it. Why do we apply absolute cell referencing to this cell here, to this cell addresses? Because the calculations for the entire column will be dependent or based on this cell. So this cell is a reference cell, and therefore we need to apply our absolute cell referencing so that when we autofill the formula, it doesn't move down like that. So absolute cell referencing is just making sure that the calculation for the rest of the columns would be based on this cell, and it would not move to the rest of the cells going down like that. So this one will not move, but these will move. Okay, and then you press enter. I'm just hoping that I'm making sense to you guys. Let me also fill again. So if I'm checking this formula now, it's this divided by this. I'm checking this one, it's this divided by this. So it's been moving here, but it didn't move from this cell. Why? Because I applied an absolute cell reference to the cell address here. Okay, and then I'm going to change this to a percentage. Okay, and I would like to sort out my borders. Okay, so we've done a lot of things already. Now let's get going. They want us now to calculate the total amount due. We've done that. We are going now doing F, highest number of days. Highest number of days. So we are going to use that one. So we have our number of days here, and then for the highest value, highest amount, we use a formula called max. Okay, and then you're going to highlight number of days, and then you press enter, and indeed 9 is the highest. And then lowest price per person, let's just look where they want that to go. That should go underneath lowest price per person, and that's the instruction. I'll always go back to the instruction. So for the lowest amount, lowest value, we always take, no man, I'm so sorry, shouldn't have done that. Let me remove the sum. We always take minimum, which is mean, because it's the lowest. Lowest is the minimum. Okay, so they want the lowest price per person, and this is price per day per person. Okay, so we are going to highlight this and press enter. So 200 Rand was the lowest or the smallest amount a person would pay. And then they want an average of percentage of total. So they want an average of this here. So the formula we use to calculate average is average, but then only for this, not for the rest of it all. Okay, so the average of this is 11%. Okay, and then again I may need to sort out my border issues here. So I'll say no border, and then I'll highlight again to say I want to insert outside borders. But again, this border issue should be with how you are comfortable and know how to do it best. Okay, so now I want to insert borders across. So I'm going to let me just check here. Okay, going to say outside borders again, outside borders again. They want us to insert number of days, and highest number of days as integers. They are integers already because they are without the decimal places, and they want us to display these as currency with 2 decimals. So let's do that. So I would highlight what's going on now. So I'm going to highlight this, and then I'm going to change this to a currency. So more accounting formats, currency, and then I'm going to look for a dollar here, for a rand, rand. I've done that, and it's now in currencies. Remember to never insert the R's yourself. You need to select your currency there, and that's that. For how many marks? For 35 marks. Easy, easy things to do. And this is how you manipulate a spreadsheet, and see you on the next one.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.